Welcome to Cybersecurity HQ's daily deep dive into today's top cybersecurity news. We've got a lot to cover today, from critical vulnerabilities to international espionage to the future of AI and cybersecurity. Let's get started.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's jump right in.
First up, we've got a critical vulnerability in the Veeam service provider console. This is tracked as CVE 2024-42448, and it's got a severity score of 9.9 out of 10, so about as serious as it gets.
Really is. This flaw, it could allow a remote attacker to execute code, arbitrary code, on the console server, potentially gaining complete control. And considering this console manages data protection across hybrid environments, the potential for damage is enormous.
What makes this vulnerability particularly concerning, though, is that exploitation is possible even if the management agent is authorized on the server. So an attacker doesn't need sophisticated access to inflict significant harm.
Exactly. And unfortunately, there's no mitigation, at least for versions prior to 8. So the only way to address this is to update to the latest version, 8.1.21999, as quickly as possible.
This highlights the importance of proactive patch management. Delaying updates, especially for critical vulnerabilities like this, can have serious repercussions.
Absolutely. Speaking of immediate threats, CISA just added a Zyxel firewall vulnerability to its known exploited vulnerabilities catalog. This is tracked as CVE 2024-11667.
And this vulnerability is particularly troubling because it allows attackers to upload or download files. Without authorization, of course, through path traversal attacks. Even more concerning, CISA has flagged it as actively being exploited in the wild.
Right. This means attackers are actively using this vulnerability. Makes it an urgent issue for any Zyxel users out there. The recommended action is to patch immediately. Upgrade that firmware to version 5.39 or later.
All right. And moving on, we have another critical vulnerability, this time in SailPoint Identity IQ. This one's CVE 2024-10905 and boasts a perfect CVSS score, 10 out of 10.
Yeah. This is a major concern. Identity IQ is a widely used platform, used for managing identities and access, and the vulnerability allows unauthorized access to files within the application directory.
And what's particularly worrisome is that SailPoint hasn't yet issued an advisory or patch for this. So this lack of official guidance creates uncertainty and emphasizes the need for vigilance. Heightened vigilance and monitoring for suspicious activity.
Absolutely. Organizations using Identity IQ need to be on high alert until a patch is available.
For sure. And while we're on the topic of vulnerabilities, let's talk about CVE 2024-45717. This is a cross-site scripting, also known as XSS vulnerability, in the SolarWinds platform.
Right. Now, this one requires authentication, so that means the attacker needs to be logged in. But the potential consequences are still pretty significant. It could lead to data breaches, manipulation of platform functions, or even unauthorized access to connected systems.
Fortunately, SolarWinds has issued a patch, version 2024.4.1, to address this. This just highlights the importance of staying up to date with those patches as soon as they are released.
Definitely. Moving on from vulnerabilities, let's delve into the realm of espionage. There's a fascinating story about how the Russian APT group, Turla, hijacked the infrastructure of some Pakistani hackers.
This sounds like something straight out of a spy thriller. Turla, also known as Secret Blizzard, is notorious for its advanced cyber espionage campaigns. And in this case, they actually infiltrated the command servers of a Pakistani hacking group. This group is known as Storm 0156, and they were redirecting stolen data and deploying their own malware.
What's really remarkable is that this isn't the first time Turla has pulled this off. They've previously hijacked infrastructure belonging to Iranian and Ukrainian groups.
Wow. This demonstrates the intricate and sometimes complex relationships that we see in the world of cybercrime, where motives and allegiances can shift rapidly.
It also highlights the adaptability and resourcefulness of these state-sponsored actors, like Turla. They're constantly evolving their tactics to achieve their objectives.
Yeah, exactly. On a more positive note, German authorities recently dismantled Crime Network, a major online marketplace for illicit activities.
This is a significant win for law enforcement. Crime Network facilitated the trade of stolen data, counterfeit documents, and other illegal goods. What's remarkable is that they were handling transactions with almost 100 million euros in cryptocurrency since 2018.
And this takedown isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a larger effort by Europol to crack down on encrypted platforms that are used for criminal activities, such as the messaging service Matrix.
Right. The arrest of a key administrator and the seizure of assets worth €1 million demonstrates the impact this operation is having on the cybercrime ecosystem.
Meanwhile, authorities in South Korea have arrested individuals for equipping satellite receivers with DDoS capabilities.
This is an interesting case. It shows how cybercriminals are finding creative ways to exploit consumer devices. By adding DDoS capabilities to satellite receivers, they can create these massive botnets capable of launching devastating attacks.
It's a reminder that cybersecurity threats can come from unexpected sources. And as our reliance on interconnected devices grows, so too will the ingenuity of cybercriminals.
Absolutely. Shifting our focus to government and regulatory actions, we have a joint advisory issued by the US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. This concerns Chinese telecom hacking.
And this advisory focuses on countering Chinese espionage activities that target telecommunications providers. It highlights vulnerabilities in Cisco devices and urges organizations to take specific security measures.
The joint nature of this advisory underscores the seriousness of the threat and the importance of international collaboration when it comes to addressing these issues. It's a direct response to the increasing aggression of Chinese state-sponsored actors in cyberspace.
Yeah. And this concern about Chinese hacking is echoed in the U.S. Senate, where senators are demanding a probe into the Department of Defense's communication security, following the Salt Typhoon hacks.
The senators are specifically concerned about the lack of encryption for unclassified communications and the lack of oversight on the cybersecurity practices of telecom providers.
These vulnerabilities are not theoretical. Reports suggest that Salt Typhoon has been able to intercept real-time calls and messages, emphasizing that urgent need for stronger security protocols.
This incident highlights the importance of government agencies and departments prioritizing cybersecurity, taking a proactive approach to protect their communication networks.
Definitely. On a different note, NIST recently updated its cybersecurity framework with new guidance on passwords.
Yeah, this update reflects the changing landscape of cyber threats and moves away from those complexity requirements. The new guidance prioritizes password length over complexity. So encouraging longer passwords and doing away with password hints and those knowledge-based recovery methods.
This shift recognizes that longer passwords are inherently more difficult to crack, even if they lack complex character combinations. It's a more practical approach that aims to enhance security without unnecessarily burdening users.
Right. It's a step towards a more user-friendly approach to password security, while still maintaining a high level of protection. Now let's dive into some industry insights and trends. One development that's caught my eye is Tuskira's ambitious goal. They want to unify over 150 security tools into an AI-driven mesh.
That's a bold vision. What's impressive is that they just had their Series A funding round. They secured $28.5 million. Really underscores the growing demand for these proactive threat defense solutions.
Exactly. Traditional security approaches, the reactive ones, just aren't enough anymore in today's threat landscape. Companies are starting to realize that anticipating and mitigating these threats before they even strike is essential.
Speaking of proactive approaches, a recent NetApp survey revealed some rather unsettling findings about cyber resilience.
Yeah, the survey found that 1 in 5 companies can't recover from attacks, the main culprits. Cloud security risks, an overabundance of security tools, and inadequate data classification.
Those findings really stress the need for a holistic approach to cybersecurity, encompassing not just the technical aspects, but also organizational and human factors.
Couldn't agree more. Cybersecurity isn't just about technology. It's about people, processes, and a culture of security awareness.
Now let's take a peek into the future of cybersecurity. Gen Digital has released its predictions for 2025, and they paint a very interesting picture.
Yeah, their predictions touch on some key trends, like the rise of AI, deepfakes, data theft, and the increasing personalization of scams.
It seems AI will play a dual role, huh? On one hand, it can bolster our cybersecurity defenses, but on the other, malicious actors will inevitably leverage AI to create more sophisticated and convincing attacks.
The rise of deepfakes is particularly concerning. As these technologies advance, it's going to become more and more difficult to distinguish real content from fabricated content.
And with the sheer volume of data breaches that we've seen in 2024, cybercriminals now have so much information, a treasure trove really, that they can use to fuel identity theft.
Exactly. They're becoming more adept at using that stolen data to craft these highly personalized scams that prey on people's emotions and vulnerabilities.
And Digital's predictions are a wake-up call. We need to prepare for a future where the lines between reality and deception become blurred.
Absolutely. And this preparation involves not only adopting new technologies, but also cultivating a heightened awareness of the evolving threat landscape. and a commitment to staying informed about the latest scams and security best practices.
Kaspersky also released their predictions, focusing on the consumer cybersecurity landscape in 2025, specifically the intersection of AI and privacy.
Right. They anticipate that privacy regulations will continue to expand globally, empowering individuals with greater control over their data. And while AI will play a crucial role in bolstering fraud prevention efforts, cybercriminals will undoubtedly leverage AI to launch even more sophisticated attacks.
They also predict a concerning rise in AI-driven cyberbullying, fueled by online polarization and the unfortunate ease with which AI can be weaponized to create and spread harmful content.
This highlights the complex and often challenging interplay between those technological advancements and societal impacts. We need to carefully consider both the benefits and the potential risks as AI becomes increasingly integrated into our lives.
Now let's get into some actionable advice. One article provided valuable tips on identifying charlatans within security teams.
Ah, yes. These individuals can be detrimental to any organization, often targeting successful peers, overpromising and underdelivering, relying on cliches instead of substance, and attempting to suppress the good work done by others.
Recognizing these behaviors is crucial. Charlatans can derail progress, damage team morale, and ultimately weaken an organization's security posture.
Fostering a culture of transparency and accountability within security teams is essential. Encourage open communication, value genuine contributions, and don't hesitate to challenge empty rhetoric or baseless claims.
And speaking of staying vigilant, there's a new phishing campaign that's leveraging corrupted ZIP files and Office documents to bypass security defenses.
This campaign is particularly insidious. It exploits the recovery mechanisms of programs like Word, Outlook, and WinRAR to launch malicious files in recovery mode, often slipping past antivirus software and email filters.
Once open, these corrupted files might deploy QR codes, leading to phishing websites or even directly downloading malware onto the victim's system.
It's a reminder that even seemingly harmless files can be dangerous. We should always exercise caution when opening attachments from unknown or untrusted sources.
And finally, a crucial reminder to all Google Chrome users. Update your browser immediately.
Yeah, there's a high-severity vulnerability tracked as CVE 2024-12050 that needs patching. This vulnerability, caused by a type confusion issue in the V8 JavaScript engine, could allow a remote attacker to compromise your system.
The update is available for both desktop and Android versions of Chrome. Delaying this update is not worth the risk.
And while we're talking about updates, Android also released its December 2024 security update. It addresses 14 high-severity vulnerabilities.
14. That's quite a number. Is there any particular one we should be aware of?
CVE 2024-43767. This flaw could allow remote code execution in the system component without requiring any special privileges, which is as serious as it gets. The update covers Android versions 12 through 15, includes fixes for hardware components from various vendors, including MediaTek, Qualcomm, and Imagination Technologies.
So the takeaway here is update those Android devices as soon as possible.
Precisely. Another incident that highlights the importance of supply chain security is the recent compromise of the Solana Web3.js library.
Right. This library is widely used by developers building decentralized applications, or dApps, on the Solana blockchain.
Versions 1.95.6 and 1.95.7 were backdoored, led to the theft of private keys and the draining of funds from some unfortunate users.
That sounds like a major security breach. How extensive was the damage?
Fortunately, no major wallets were reportedly compromised. However, the attack could have had a wider impact on third-party tools that relied on those specific versions of the library.
So what should developers do to protect themselves from similar attacks?
Immediate action. Update to version 1.95.8. It includes a fix for the vulnerability. It's also crucial to rotate keys, just as a precaution, even if they weren't directly affected.
This incident serves as a stark reminder that supply chain attacks are becoming increasingly common and sophisticated.
Absolutely. Developers need to be incredibly vigilant. They need to verify their dependencies and implement robust security measures throughout their development lifecycle to protect their projects and ultimately their users.
Switching gears to law enforcement, European authorities recently dismantled a criminal encrypted messaging service. It was known as Matrix.
This is a major blow to organized crime. Matrix, operating under various aliases like Mactrix, TotalSec, QSafe, and XQuantum, was widely used for drug trafficking, arms dealing, and money laundering.
This was not a small-scale operation. Matrix boasted over 8,000 users globally. Subscriptions cost between 1,300 and 1,600 euros, so you can see the significant financial resources involved.
What's fascinating is that law enforcement was able to hack into the Matrix network. They intercepted communications for 3 months. This provided them with valuable intelligence on criminal operations worldwide.
This success demonstrates the increasing capabilities of law enforcement agencies in tackling these encrypted criminal platforms, even those that tout high levels of security.
It also raises important questions about the balance between privacy and security in the digital age, but that's a discussion for another time.
And while we're on the topic of law enforcement achievements, Germany's Federal Criminal Police, or BKA, successfully took down Crime Network, one of the largest cybercrime marketplaces for German-speaking users.
This takedown is significant not only because of the platform size, with over 100,000 users, but also due to the sheer volume of illegal activities it facilitated.
We're talking over $100 million in cryptocurrency transactions since 2018. That's a staggering amount.
The arrest of a key administrator, known as Techman, is a major victory for law enforcement. Sends a clear message that those who operate these illegal online marketplaces will be pursued and brought to justice.
In a case that highlights the potential for everyday devices to be weaponized, South Korea recently arrested 6 individuals. They were adding DDoS capabilities to satellite receivers.
This case is a prime example of how seemingly harmless devices can be repurposed for malicious purposes. These individuals created a massive botnet of 240,000 devices, capable of launching large-scale DDoS attacks.
This underscores the need for enhanced security measures in the manufacturing and distribution of consumer electronics. We need to incorporate cybersecurity considerations from the ground up. Ensure devices are secure by design.
Right. It's a reminder that cybersecurity is not just the responsibility of software developers or security professionals. It also involves hardware manufacturers and everyone involved in the supply chain. Now, let's shift our attention to some concerning developments. In the realm of Chinese cyber espionage, a joint advisory from Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the United States has warned of ongoing attacks targeting telecom providers.
This advisory specifically points to the activities of Salt Typhoon. It's a hacking group believed to be affiliated with the Chinese government. They have been exploiting vulnerabilities in network devices to infiltrate telecommunications infrastructure.
The advisory strongly urges telecom providers to implement, well, a range of security measures. Things like robust network monitoring, encryption, and isolation of management traffic.
What's particularly troubling, though, is that despite ongoing investigations and mitigation efforts, U.S. officials have acknowledged that these hackers, they remain entrenched in some telecom networks.
This suggests a high level of sophistication and persistence, which is definitely alarming. It also reinforces the need for a coordinated international response to counter these Chinese cyber espionage activities.
Absolutely. This is not a threat that any single nation can address alone.
And speaking of Salt Typhoon, their activities have also prompted U.S. senators to call for a formal investigation into the Pentagon's communications security practices.
Senators Eric Schmidt and Ron Wyden have expressed serious concerns about the lack of encryption in unclassified DoD communications, making them vulnerable to interception and espionage.
They are also critical of the DoD's lack of oversight when it comes to the cybersecurity practices of the telecom providers they contract with.
If this investigation proceeds, it could have far-reaching implications for how the DoD secures its extensive communication networks.
Now let's zoom out a bit and look at some broader insights. Into the cybersecurity landscape, we're witnessing a convergence of trends that are shaping the future of the industry.
One of the most significant trends is the increasing demand for end-to-end security platforms. Organizations are tired of managing this patchwork of disparate security tools. They're seeking integrated solutions that can provide comprehensive protection across all layers of the enterprise.
Exactly. This demand is driving innovation. It's leading to the emergence of new companies that are developing these unified security solutions.
However, at the same time, we're also seeing the influence of hyperscalers growing.
Right. Cloud giants like AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud are increasingly offering their own security solutions, creating a more competitive landscape.
This raises interesting questions about the future of the cybersecurity market and the role that these hyperscalers will play.
Another significant factor is the evolving regulatory landscape. We're seeing more stringent cybersecurity regulations being implemented globally, particularly in the EU and North America.
This regulatory pressure is compelling organizations to rethink their security practices, invest in more robust solutions to ensure compliance.
And of course, M&A activity will continue to reshape the industry. Larger cybersecurity companies are acquiring smaller players to expand their capabilities and market reach.
This consolidation is leading to the emergence of a few dominant players, but it also creates opportunities for smaller, niche players to innovate and carve out their own space.
This dynamic landscape presents both exciting opportunities and new challenges for cybersecurity companies and professionals.
Absolutely. To succeed in this environment, they need to be adaptable, innovative, and always stay ahead of the curve.
Now let's focus on the European cybersecurity landscape. ENISA, the European Union Agency for Cybersecurity, recently released its first-ever State of EU Cybersecurity report.
This report highlights the escalating threats facing European institutions. DOS and ransomware attacks are topping the list.
There's also been a noticeable increase in hacktivist activity, groups leveraging DDoS attacks, website defacements, and psychological tactics, disrupting operations and spreading fear.
The report also points to the growing influence of state-sponsored actors, particularly from Russia and China, engaging in cyber espionage campaigns.
ENISA's findings underscore the need for stronger EU-wide cybersecurity measures. Things like improved collaboration among member states, enhanced crisis management capabilities, and a greater emphasis on supply chain security.
It's a call to action for European organizations and governments to prioritize cybersecurity, take a proactive and coordinated approach to address the evolving threat landscape.
In other news, Global Corporation, a U.S.-based engineering and automation services provider, recently reported a cybersecurity breach. It involved the encryption of data files.
This incident highlights the vulnerability of critical infrastructure to cyber threats. Global provides services to critical infrastructure in the energy and defense sectors, so the potential consequences of this breach could be significant.
This attack is consistent with a recent trend of cyber incidents impacting the energy sector. Companies like Newpark Resources and Halliburton have also fallen victim to attacks.
It's a reminder that no organization is immune to cyber threats. Those operating in critical infrastructure sectors need to be especially vigilant, given the potential for disruption and the impact on national security and economic stability.
Definitely. Gen Digital's cybersecurity predictions for 2025 paint a rather concerning picture of the future threat landscape.
They predict that AI will play an increasingly prominent role, blurring the lines between reality and deception, making it more difficult to distinguish between authentic and fabricated content.
Deepfakes are expected to become incredibly realistic, potentially used for malicious purposes, like manipulating public opinion or defrauding individuals.
Data theft is projected to fuel a surge in identity theft, as cybercriminals exploit stolen information to create highly convincing and personalized scams.
And scams themselves are predicted to become hyper-personalized, leveraging stolen data to target victims' emotions and vulnerabilities, making it harder for individuals to identify and avoid them.
Gen Digital's predictions serve as a stark warning. We need to prepare for a future where the digital world becomes even more deceptive and dangerous.
Absolutely. This preparation involves not only adopting new technologies, but also fostering a heightened awareness of the evolving threat landscape and a commitment to continuous learning and adaptation.
We need to be skeptical, cautious, and proactive in protecting our personal information and digital identities in this rapidly changing environment.
A new NetApp survey has revealed some concerning findings about the state of cyber resilience. 1 in 5 companies reported an inability to recover from cyber attacks.
This inability to recover is primarily attributed to 3 key factors: cloud security risks, the proliferation of security tools, and inadequate data classification.
The survey also highlighted the increasing role of AI in cybersecurity. Around 40% of organizations are already using AI for threat detection, and this adoption is expected to grow.
However, the report also cautions about the challenges associated with AI, such as managing false positives and the need for human oversight to ensure its effectiveness.
The key takeaway from the NetApp survey is the importance of a data-centric approach to cybersecurity.
Organizations need to prioritize data classification, implement intelligent data management frameworks, and invest in robust data security solutions to enhance their cyber resilience and improve their ability to recover from attacks.
This proactive approach, combined with investments in integrated security solutions, will be crucial in navigating the increasingly complex and challenging cyber threat landscape.
That wraps up our Cybersecurity HQ Deep Dive for December 4th, 2024. We covered a lot today, but this is just a glimpse into the vast world of cybersecurity. Remember to stay informed, be proactive, and never stop learning. Be sure to check out Cybersecurity HQ's website, where you can find our job board, news updates, in-depth reports, and subscribe to our weekly newsletter. It's read by over 70,000 cybersecurity professionals. Until next time, stay safe.